Calling Jackson Hole his home base more often than not, Jake Dulln is an artist whose unique style showcases his strong songwriting and contemplative spirit. Since 2018, Dulln has independently written, produced, and recorded 4 releases. Recorded locally in a yurt in Victor, Idaho last winter, his latest release, Jungfrau, came out recently and features 9 tracks complete, with drums and bass accompanying him on guitar. A change of pace for Dulln, as his previous releases have primarily been solo material. In celebration of the new album and an upcoming trip to Europe for the winter, Jake Dulln joins us now in the KHOL studio.
Hello.
What's up, Jake?
Nothing much, man. Thanks for having me on. Hello to everyone out there listening.
Yeah, so we're gonna kick things off, jump right into a performance. What song do you have for us to start us off?
I'm going to start with a song called Pseudopod Burst. It's the 3rd track on the new record. It might sound a little different than what's on the record, but maybe we can talk about that a little bit afterwards.
Cool. All right, Jake Dulln, Pseudopod Burst, right here on KHOL. All right. Jake Dulln in the studio with us here on KHOL. Pseudopod Burst off the new album Jungfrau. Can you tell us a little bit about that song?
Yeah, I like that song. So I wanted to say about that song is that that was the acoustic version, like the solo acoustic version. When we recorded it with 2 other great musicians, which I think we'll get to, it ended up being totally different. I recorded it with Peter Henderson and Pearson Beasley, local musicians from the Strum Bucket. We kind of just went for it in 5 days was like our session. And so with that song particularly, Peter, we just kind of got in a really good vibe, and he hit us with this tom line and then went straight to the hi-hat, which we can listen on the song. And then I just kind of came in on the guitar. The electric that I had actually was Pearson's electric. We kind of just started ripping, and we just like took it completely different way than we had been rehearsing for the last hour. We just really had a lot of fun with it, and ended up being one of the most ripping tracks. That's a pretty good example of kind of what the recording process was like.
Yeah, you can feel it's a new angle that you're taking with some of the songs. You know, you have some of the classic Jake Dulln material on there as well, but we'll get into that a little deeper in just a bit. I want to rewind a bit. So last time you came in and chatted with us was last summer of July of 2021. How have you been, and what have you been up to since then?
I've been pretty good. I think last time we talked, I had 5 or 6 more dates on this little tour I'd put together. I think I went out to California after that. I think I talked to you actually right before the first one. I had like 8 dates or whatever. So anyway, and then I was camping, and then I really just started writing the next project pretty much without even, not consciously. Like usually I'm like, all right, I need to write something, let's get started. But this one, like the first song, which was actually me and Haze, came out onto paper pretty fast. I guess I'm gonna write another record, you know. I'd kind of been aiming for 3 or 4 projects in this kind of chapter or whatever I've set out for myself. But yeah, so then after that, pretty quickly I started looking for people to record a new project with. That's like October timeframe. I actually played at Nora's like the 4th of October last year, and I opened up with a couple other friends. Actually, it was actually we that time for this band called Sidecake, who Pearson was in. And he was playing bass, and I was like, that guy, I think he's the guy for sure. So that kind of started things. And then I met Peter at this local musician, Grove. We were in a jam session, I don't know, probably November, late October, and then I met Peter. So seriously, from last time we talked to now, it's mostly been putting this project together. I ski instructed last winter here in Jackson to make money, but honestly, it's been 100% putting together a group that can record songs and release them. It's literally been this project. The answer to your question is this. This is what I've been doing
every day, all day.
Yeah, basically.
Your last release, the Rubble EP, was the first to feature, correct me if I'm wrong, but the first to feature additional musicians, especially on the standout track Grunge Gods.
Yeah, that's true.
So this time around on Jungfrau, as you mentioned, you employed the services of local musicians and good friends of KHOL. I definitely should mention drummer Peter Henderson and bassist Pearson Beasley from the band Strum Bucket. Can you tell us about the concept of the record and how it came to be?
It wasn't really a concept. I approached everything from a writing standpoint. So there was all these songs I was working on, and I just knew I wanted to play with other musicians. Once I wrote the first couple songs and I knew, I was like, all right, well, this is happening again. let me find the guys that, you know, I really actually want to. And that actually took months. You know, you can't like force stuff like that. You have to like, you know, see who people are and if they're interested, you know,
if they
like,
fit.
it's not like I was like, all right.
And how did you know that you definitively wanted to have other musicians with you?
Like I've kind of just been living my own little dream for the last 4 or 5 years. And I'll start by saying it's been really rewarding personally and creatively, but it's the other things start lacking, you know. That's always been what I've wanted to do ever since. Like, actually, you mentioned Grunge Gods. Like, that song on the last record talks about, you know, going over a bridge, listening to 101 Alternative, which is actually a station in Maryland that we used to listen to. Like, that's when grunge was, you know, kind of blowing up in the late 90s. I was, like, just a kid. But, like, that's what I want to do. That's why I want to play with a band, and I want it to be freaking sick. You know what I mean? So I just kind of took a long way to get there. Also, I'm like, I don't want to play solo forever, you know? I'm just like out there, like one person. You're like, all right, well, this would be a lot funner with other people.
So how did you said it's like you're following basically a songwriting trail where the songs are leading you to the final bulk.
Yeah, it always has been about writing for me when I started, you know, being really influenced by Dulln and stuff. It's like, if you can write your own songs and perform them, like that's the best. That's really excites me, you know, to be the writer and the performer. It's all this other stuff that I didn't really sign up for. But
So you started with me and Haze, and then was it just kind of like a waterfall from there? Like the songs
pretty much
quickly?
They weren't all written in that. Like Pseudopod, I actually been tossing around for like a couple years. I almost put that on Rubble somehow, but it never really worked. Let You In, kind of came at the beginning with me and Haze. Walking on Sand came the same time. So yeah, mostly a waterfall of new material. I think the only one that was like kind of been kicking around for a while was the one I just played actually. But everything else was pretty much newly written. And some of them, this is maybe jumping the gun as far as talking about the band and the process and stuff, some of them were barely even finished, you know, written. Like we kind of had constraints as far as performing in the yurt.
Yeah, so let's get into that. So it was a really rapid fire 5-day session.
Well, it was actually Sundays. So I was instructing, and you know, they're in a band, and you know, I want to respect their time, and like I didn't know if it was going to be a record. I'd kind of hoped secretly, but we kind of just were like, let's do demos. That was kind of my approach. Like, cause I wanted to send the project to this dude, Blake Mills. Actually, people might know about him. He's this LA producer, really good musician, guitarist. And I don't know, I just see a lot of similarities but it ended up not working out at all. But it was like a good thing to get me going in the right direction. And then like we had demos, and I was like, these are pretty good. And then I had a flight down to LA out of Salt Lake because I was down there. And then like I was 2 weeks early, like I misbooked the flight. So I got there 2 weeks early, and they're like, this flight isn't until another 2 weeks. And I'm like, wow. So that wasn't meant to be. So anyway, I was like, all right, here we have those demos, and these are like awesome. And like, I'm not going to be able to really get any more recording time. And like, let's just work on these. And then it changed around April last spring. It was like, all right, gears shifted with finishing the mix and then mastering these songs. And that's a really long story. I'll jump to the end. I ended up doing it in Durango with a guy I knew called Doug. He works down at Eagle Sound. And I probably spent 3 or 4 weeks, like pretty intense weeks with him, doing the mix from everything we had captured in the yurt, and then just making it sound up to par. And then I've had to do another pass since I've been back here in Jackson a couple months ago after I came back from Switzerland. So since I've talked to you, it's been pretty much figuring out how to get this done with
so it was every Sunday, like for 5 weeks?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So that was like, we took week breaks. We were basically just shooting the gap as far as like what people could do and what Peter Pearson and I could do. So I think we did probably the first 2 Sundays in a row. We probably took a couple Sundays off. It was basically just scheduling. And then the plan was to do 2 or 3 songs a Sunday. So I would send them like, I called them roughs. So it would just be like me playing the songs, like, all right, we're doing these 2 or 3 songs this Sunday, and they'd get a chance to listen to them. Because by the time we got there on Sunday, it would be, let's get straight into it. I want to share something Pearson said, actually. He was like, now since I know that we are really doing this, you know, like we're going after it when we're in here, that was always the idea. Because it's not like we got to record it, then we got to mix it, then we got to master it, then we got to put it out, you know, so... Yeah, that was a good indication of kind of what I was going for. So he picked up on that. And then after that, we were like, okay, like we're doing this like every Sunday. We're kind of going hard in the paint. Another 2 or 3 songs. And then we just pretty much learn them on the spot. And then we run through them 2 or 3 times, and we try to hit that special spot. Like it's all aiming towards that special moment. You know, you can't be too rigid about that. Luckily, like, we had really good chemistry. Like, I mean, I think the record speaks for itself. And then we were able to hit that special spot with all the songs. There was 4 songs that didn't make the cut, or like we didn't get time enough to do. So it actually ended up, we started with 12 and we got 8. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, it sounds great. Everyone should listen. Jungfrau. You can find it wherever you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Jake, what is your personal favorite track on the record and why?
Kind of want to just reverse it, you know, to the audience, because it's like, I really actually don't have a favorite right now. Each one has been a long process. Like, I could go in depth about From the Street. That song took, like, that was the song I had to go back and remaster. And then, like, Pseudopod has a crazy story because Peter just hit us with some toms and we just jumped on, and like I was just holding on for dear life, basically. And that's the same case with Me and Haze. Me and Haze was, honestly, what's on the record might have been our first take. Like, there's a couple first takes on the record. Like, From the Street was the first take. I did a couple things to it, but that's basically like, all right, it's going to be 4 of these and then 4 of these and then break here. And then and then it's like, okay, let's do it. And then it was like, well, that felt pretty dang good, you know? And then we tried to do it a couple more times and then it was never like the same. So you kind of have to, sorry, I'm just going off on another tangent, but there's a whole part between recording and mixing where you're like looking for the right takes. It's like pre-mixing almost. So you're like, all right, where is this project? You know, where is my mental state? Like, which songs am I going to sit with for the next 3 or 4 months?
Yeah.
So that was really exciting to kind of find that. So I could really just go on. I don't know how much time we got, but I could literally, I could say that for like every song. Like, like Walking on Sand, that one, we had a really sweet take. It was like the 6th take or something. And then something happened with the recording. And then I was like, the 8th take is really good. And then like that one was like botched somehow. And then months go by and I found out that the 7th take was actually like the one in between that we had like run. So it like saved the day, because I think the recording messed up on one, and then the one we like didn't start the recording or something. It was like super bummer. But then like going back over, it was like, all right, holy crap, there's actually a 7th take in here that actually works. So that was Walking on Sand, and Me and Haze was the first take, you know.
So like, Me and Haze was the first song written and the first take recorded. Who is Haze?
Haze, I talked about him last time I was here.
Oh, I think, yeah, you did.
Yeah. He's like a really good friend of mine. I'm going to call him once I get back to Maryland, because I think he's listened to the songs, but he's just like a road friend. I don't know how else to, I just met him at a gas station down in Alpine, actually. And it was just like hilarious. And then we just got to talking, and I was like, I'm looking for some dispersed camping. He's like, yeah, I kind of am too. I'm like, all right, well, come with me. You know, like, follow me. And we like, he has this like, you know, old red van that's like falling apart, and he followed me in that. We looked, and then it was like too expensive, and then we found the place on the edge of Palisade Reservoir, which, I mean, if people camp around here, it's like it's a legit spot. I mean, in the summer, obviously not right now, but I mean, we camped there for like several weeks. That's how the lyric goes, you know. Our conversation could have, you know, even influenced the writing of that song, to be honest. You know? So,
well, I think that's a line throughout most of your work. A lot of your work is the road, and I love the track on the new album, People Drifting. Oh yeah, it's kind of, to me, it's like drifting. Classic Jake Dulln. Can you tell us, you know, what the songwriting process was for that one?
Yeah, that's like the other side of it. You know, when I'm doing this interview and you're asking these questions, there's kind of like a subtext that I'm like successful musician or something, and like creatively I am, but viably, feasibly, like fiscally, I'm like not. It's a sad state of affairs on that side of things. As far as like a musician that wants to go about it the way I'm going about it, which is like the long, hard road or something like that, there's only so many things you can actually do to like gain some type of exposure or something. And so reflecting on that, that's what People Be Drifting is. It's that feeling when I'm done the tour. That song probably came when I was done the tour last summer after Rubble. And I'm like chilling in this, could have been when I was chilling with Haze in this campsite. And it's like, all right, I'm basically broke again, and I'm in my car. It's like, you know, what is this? You know, so that's basically what People Be Drifting is. That's all in the song, you know?
Yeah. And we were talking before we hopped on that, you know, it's a fine balance between creative reward and realistic financial capabilities of being able to do this for a living.
It's like something I've ignored, basically. But you get to a point, like, I guess I don't want to share specifics, but you get to a point, like, you know, you're a certain age and you want some type of cushion financially to be able to, like, not, you know, if a paycheck's late or something, you don't want to have to be asking for, like, a couple $100 extra to, like, fly, you know, somewhere. It's just, you know, it's sad, dude.
Yeah.
You know, and, like.
But the other side of it is you're creating this really great work that you're super proud of.
Yeah. Yeah, but
so it's
like
just a double-edged sword.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So many ways.
Oh, yeah.
So you did tell me that this is the best thing undoubtedly that you've ever done. And when listening, you can sense, for me, you can sense Jake Dulln, coming into his own as an artist. So I'm super excited about this project. I know you are. What is it specifically about the album and the process of making it that makes you so proud of it?
Just being able to be in the room with two other musicians and actually get on the same page. Like, I hadn't played with a drummer since it had probably been like 10 years. Like, I used to play with a drummer in high school, and then just being able to do that again and then have it be my own material. The other answer is I've just been doing it for a while, so I feel like I'm coming into my own, because it's like after you do, you know, 3 projects, you're like, okay, I'm in this enough to actually feel confident, you know, doing this. You know, when you start out,
learning from mistakes.
Yeah, when you start out, you're like, all right, well, here we go, you know. But then if you have a couple projects under your belt or whatever, you're like, all right, you know, I've done this before.
All right, so let's jump into your travel to Switzerland. This is really cool. So you went this past summer to Switzerland, and I quote, to check out how beautiful it was, learn and grow, and to more specifically visit the famous psychologist Carl Jung's residence on Lake Zurich. Yeah. Plus, you also performed a few times at the Mountain Hostel up there. Yeah. You've got a really awesome video up on YouTube of you performing at the top of a mountain.
If you just type in Swiss Gig Jake, it's the first thing that comes up.
Oh, really?
Sorry, just making sure.
And it features some pretty epic drone footage of you and some fellow musicians up on the top of a mountain. It's really cool. Can you expand on what your experience was like over there and how you see it informing some more music in the future?
Switzerland was super special. I don't know how it's going to really influence my music other than like directly. I, met this kid out here. I call him a kid even to his face because he's 19 or 20. So he's like a genius or something. This kid, his name's Cameron. He's a really good friend of mine. I met him in Switzerland and we like totally were like into the same stuff. Just for example, he read this paper by David Foster Wallace about David Lynch. It's titled like David Lynch Keeps His Head or whatever. And just the fact that he had like heard about that paper and that he'd actually read it, and like I'd audiobooked it, I think, on the plane at some point along the way somewhere. And I was like, heck yeah. So we're talking about David Foster Wallace and David Lynch, and then like he like loves Bob Dylan. And so anyway, he's amazing, and it was great to meet him. And we ended up playing at the Mountain Hostel twice. So that's what that footage is. So to answer your question, yeah, I'm flying out to Bristol, England, where he's living now, and we're going to continue playing, together this winter. That's a very direct and practical way how Switzerland is.
So do you have a connection, like a specific connection to mountains? Because I feel like, you're here.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
You're here in Jackson a lot, and then you were in Switzerland.
Yeah, this is basically the Switzerland of the country. Like Jackson is the most Swiss-like town in the whole country.
Yeah. So what is it about the epic scale of mountains surrounding you?
Yeah, there's definitely something about that. I don't know if that was like,
you to it,
yeah, I don't know if the mountains attracted me. Oh, maybe they did. I mean, everyone's heard of the Swiss Alps, Whenever someone's talk about it, like if you ever have a friend that talks about it, which I did, her name's Helena. She was working on the mountain with me last winter, and she was like in Switzerland. And then I know I'm like really into Carl Jung, and he's Swiss. And then me and Helena just had a walk around here, this building we're sitting in now, last spring. And she's like, you should check out this World Packers program. Because I was asking, like, how do you do that? How do you go to Switzerland? How do you travel? How do you make that work? And she mentioned this program where you volunteer. And so I was like, I guess I'd want to go to Switzerland, because she had been to Switzerland and like hiked. And I'm like, that just sounds amazing. And then we found this place that was like music friendly. Like there was a bunch of pictures of these guys around the fire playing guitar, and I'm like, oh, well, that looks great.
Wow, that's awesome. So you just ended up doing that? That's cool.
Yeah, I'm like, so that's the plan.
That's going to be me.
Basically, yeah. So, so yeah, that's kind of, Switzerland was kind of special for sure, man. And
well, yeah, let's talk about how you connected with Cameron. And you're now heading to Europe for the winter, leaving actually in just a couple of hours.
Yeah, flying back to I'm flying back to
flying
Maryland.
back east and then flying over. What exactly will we be doing over there? And can we expect any European recording sessions coming our way at some point?
Yeah, I don't know about recording sessions because I just got done this like really big recording session. I feel like it just finished. But expect something different. Like I said, we're kind of having this conversation under the guise that I'm like successful or whatever. But, you know, in reality, I got 70, you know, I guess I don't know if I want to share numbers, but less than 100 followers on Spotify, less than 100 on YouTube, you know, and that's 4 projects deep of 4 or 5 years of my life, you know, basically as this is the #1 priority. And then I can barely make ends meet. So I'm going to Europe and we're doing this thing and I'm sticking to my guns with that. But you know, springtime comes and it's still the same. Like I was saying before we started, like it's that thing about insanity or what is it? Like if you do the same thing over and over and expect different results, you know, it's like, so we'll have to see, man. I'm excited. I'm going to put it on the line again. We're going to perform our faces off. Hopefully that's the plan. I mean, I've been talking to Cameron still and he's looking for a flat over there. And I think he had one last we talked. We're going to move into a place in Bristol, which apparently is a really good town for music and see what can happen. You know?
Awesome. Well, that'll be an experience.
See. We'll see. I mean, I'm a bit nervous, but I also have done this before. I've also booked my own gigs in the past multiple times, and I've played with and I've performed. So,
well, it's great. Good luck to you out there. We're going to close the interview today with a standout track from Jake Dulln's new album, Young Frau. It's called Toil. Jake's going to perform it live for you to close us out. Can you intro it for us? Tell us a little bit about the song and how it came to be.
Toil. This song. I probably started writing this song around a fire in Colorado, just on the road somewhere. But I like this song a lot. I don't want to say too much about it. I'll just play it.
All right. Jake Dulln, Toil, right here on KHOL. Jake Dulln performing Toil off the brand new album Young Frau. Super excited for this really talented young man. He's got big things coming to him. You can hear music from Jake Dulln right here on KHOL during our local music hour that airs weekdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Make sure to visit 891khol.org for more music news and culture. I'm Jack Catlin, and this is KHOL Jackson.